Hey folks, it's Sam, and it's Tuesday, July 11th at 4:18 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm talking today about the upcoming Venus retrograde cycle. It's only about 10, 11 days ahead, or 10, 11 days away. A lot of very transformative times ahead. I'm going to be talking about that in great detail today. And I'm also inviting you to get the Venus retrograde, free webinar that I'm doing on the Venus retrograde cycle that's coming. I'm going to drop a bunch of links in the comments here as I'm doing this live. There's actually several links here that are in the live chat that have a bunch of things there that I'm also going to be talking about, including my Spirit Takes Form poster and other great things that you can get to really try to harmonize and align with the beauty of these times. Because really what Venus is about is not just about romantic relationships and all that stuff we hear and the disruptions. And I'm going to be talking about going from Leo to Cancer and all of that. It's not just about our personal expression of desire and all that. It's really about a higher transcendent quality of beauty. So that's what I'll be talking about today. So stick around and check that out. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring the bell on YouTube to get notified of new videos and live streams. Also, leave a comment, share it with others on Facebook, Twitter, or other social media platforms. So yes, we're going to be talking about Venus going retrograde, and it's going to be happening in the sign of Leo. It'll be join Mars when it starts. It'll be opposite Saturn, although the aspect is separating. But what this means is that, when any planet goes retrograde, it appears to be moving backwards relative to our life on Earth, which is moving forward. And so that energy becomes a source of external confusion, like, what do I do about this thing? Because we live our whole life is in the context of, what do I do about this? What do I do is something external, because we're doing things in the world. We, through our body and through our separateness and through this agency of the body-mind structure, does something in the world. And we do it at a certain time, and there's a certain rhythm and motion to it. Like all things, Venus things have a certain rhythm to them. Mercury things have a certain rhythm. For example, Mercury things are about speech. So maybe how fast someone speaks is the Mercury rhythm. Venus is about beauty and joy. Even things like sex, lovemaking, starting relationships. We all have a certain speed with that. Some people are very fast with that. Some people are very slow with that. Like to start a relationship, to end a relationship, to maybe literally make love, fast or slow, quickly, fun, with variety, with seriousness, with, passion. Like we all have a certain energy, like an external energy with things. And so when planets go retrograde, the external, let's say, routine and our typical way of doing things backs up. It stops, it slows down. Right now, we're in a kind of holding pattern. And you may be noticing this with Venus areas of life, which again, of course, include things like romance, relationships, desires, but also, again, other forms of beauty and ways that you're trying to connect. And maybe your standard operating procedure with Venus, like the typical way you date or have agreements or make love or whatever it might be, is kind of slowing down and it's sort of stopped, or it feels like you're kind of confused and in a holding pattern because things are shifting, and they are shifting. They're about to back up. They're about to move backwards and become an internal concept rather than an external thing. So one of the things that does happen, again, by the way, it doesn't mean that you can't start things on a Venus retrograde or any type of retrograde. You certainly can. But it's going to be something that's more introspective. It might be more confusing, but it might just be more confusing based on how you typically do something. Again, like you may typically be very slow with things. So now suddenly something comes into your mind and you just take a chance to say, well, the heck with how I usually do it. I'm just going to, trust that the universe has another plan and just kind of go with it. Or just the opposite. Maybe things typically go a certain way and you're used to just starting something, but then you're reflecting and going, well, wait a minute, maybe I should wait and hesitate. Underneath it all, the retrograde planet and Venus retrograde is where we're supposed to be a bit more reflective. Now, again, it's a very neutral term, because again, being more reflective might be that we question how we typically do things, and it might make us actually more prone to just take a chance or to do something external. It's more like just the idea of reversal. If we typically do this, the retrograde means that we may very well do something opposite. Keep that in mind. And particularly in this particular case, this retrograde cycle is happening in Leo. It starts in Leo, where there's a lot of energy to initiate and a lot of passion. And it goes retrograde back into Cancer, where there's the quality of nurturing, sustenance, emotions, feelings. And so again, it may very well be a time of reflection on after sort of trusting our instinctive energy, we may then reflect on things and go deeper in the heart. Again, it's quite tricky because Venus going retrograde in Leo is quite impulsive. It's quite energized. And then it goes back into Cancer, which is sort of the least energized and the most emotional and devotional. So one thing we can know about retrograde cycles is they tend to get us outside of our comfort zone. And this will be no different. Now, one of the things what I'm doing in this free webinar, and again, you could see in the comments, I'm doing it live here, and I dropped in the comments the links, but also you'll see under this video and in the video description and in the comments, you'll see a link to this Venus retrograde webinar, Venus retrograde Leo to Cancer 2023. So it's from July 22nd to September 4th, right? And I talk about it for your sign and all 12 signs, because it's going to be different relative to whether you're like if you're Scorpio, it's happening between your 10th house of Leo and your 9th house of Cancer, right? If you're Gemini like me, it's your 3rd house of Leo and your 2nd house of Cancer. If you're Sagittarius, it's your 9th house of Leo and your 8th house of Cancer. So this is a very important detail that you should know. So you should go and register for that webinar now. Click the link in this video description that says Venus retrograde webinar, so that you know how this is going to affect you. And this is going to, again, take you forward in the next, section of your relationship life and your agreements and whatnot. Someone said, I don't see the link. It's in the chat. But if you're watching this later, it doesn't matter, because most people aren't going to see this live. And there's a link in the first comments. So anyway, this is also going to be a case study where we go back to the last time we had Venus in Leo go retrograde. The last Venus retrograde from Leo to Cancer happened in the summer of 2015. And that was a time of big political change, big energy came into the world. So these things are very important to understand and to contextualize the world you live in. Everything is not about your personal experience of things. Again, and you could see how far we've come, how different the world was 8 years ago, because these Venus cycles run in 8-year cycles. So 8 years ago, it also happened. And by the way, it was joined Jupiter in the sky. We had Venus Jupiter in Leo when Venus went retrograde and it went back into Cancer. So that was the summer of 2015. Big shifts and changes happened then. So I'll be talking about that also in this free web class. So again, we have to understand this on many levels. There'll be some case studies about how we can see this Venus culturally and in context from Leo to Cancer. We'll see how that's going to affect everyone in general. I just gave a quick description of Leo is this energy of like the king, the kingdom, wanting to share the power we have and be very energized and passionate. And it goes back into Cancer, which is more about being devoted in the heart. But again, there's a lot to say about this, which I'll break it down into great detail. And then I'll talk about each of the 12 signs, of course, including your sign. Based on whatever your ascendant is, it's going to affect you in a totally different way. And you should understand this. This is, most people, they obsess over their natal chart all the time. And most of the time, the things that are really affecting us for, periods of like a month or two, particularly when we have big things like this, like we just got out of an eclipse cycle. I don't care what your chart looks like in a general sense, wherever that eclipse just hit in that Aries Libra axis, that's been a huge thing for you, for a couple months. That has been gigantic, particularly if you have any planets there. Regardless of how your chart is set up, whatever your ascendant is, this Venus retrograde cycle for a month and a half here, from July 22nd to September 4th, is going to be having Venus moving back and forth in this area of your life. This is really important, and you should really understand it. That's why I do these things. And I purposefully do like an hour and 15-minute video that you have to go and register for, because these longer videos on YouTube, people don't watch them for a long time, and then it hurts the metrics and the analytics. So that's why, and it's totally worth it for you to dedicate some time and sit there and concentrate on something and actually learn something, rather than, again, we live in such a hit and miss culture now. People's attention spans are kind of down the drain. By the way, I'll tell you, this is one of the big things that have changed since 2015. And I'll tell you myself, as someone who's been an online teacher for 20 years, one of the biggest things that's changed in the last 8 years, certainly the last 4 or 5 years, is our attention spans are getting worse and worse. It was bad enough 3 or 4 years ago. Now it's even, back then it was a couple minutes. Now it's barely 15, 20 seconds. So anyway, be different, okay? Go register, sit there and watch this and really learn and understand and comprehend how this is going to really change your life. I wanted to let you know about, Venus is this transcendent beauty. It's not just about our relationships and how, what we're getting and how much people are, give us attention, or our soulmate and all this kind of stuff. We're so worldly with all these energies. Bringing transcendent beauty into your life is really very important now. In fact, in some ways, it's more important than all the stuff that you're looking for Venus to give you. What do I get? What do I get? What do I get? And Venus, more than anything, is like, what do I get? Gimme, 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 gimme. And give me some beauty. Give me some attention. Give me some happiness. Give me some sensual pleasure. So here's a picture of the poster, and you can see it. This is right from my wall, right next to my pictures of Amma. This is right on my wall. I took this screenshot. But look at this beautiful poster that shows how spirit takes form, this matrix of 108 Earths and 108 suns, and then how the planets, the forces of intelligence, and then they filter down into the signs and how the planets feel, and then the houses and what these things mean. This is a beautiful representation and a source of endless inspiration for you. Put it right next to your desk or in your study room. And again, so you can see from the Sacred 108 to your psychology and the spiritual nature, all the factors that you're that you're curious about astrologically. So you can go. It's a special that I have only $4.99. This thing usually this poster is usually $15, but a big discount now. Plus the shipping. International shipping is more because shipping rates have gone very high. But this is something else that I'm doing now for this Venus cycle. So again, you can just click there and just check out and get the, and then just register for it. Make sure when you do it that you enter your shipping information correctly and all that stuff. But again, this is a higher vibration of Venus as well, because again, Venus is not just the pleasure and the happiness, particularly again when it goes retrograde. It's now the external quality is like interrupted, because again your pleasure cycle, which is one of the things that I refer to Venus, and the pleasure cycle gets interrupted, gets disrupted. Laura said that she just registered for the web class. That's great. But again, we tend to have everything be external. So when the planets are external, then we're going out to try to get some of that, to try to find some of that. And again, many times Venus is the thing that we're most trying to find. We're having a very Venus experience. We wake up and we go out and try to find some Venus. Like, I'm going to go out and find some Venus, some nice people, eat some good food, have some beautiful times, have people like me, have it be pleasant and beautiful, and enjoy Venus. Venus is like the joy of life. And we go out and want to get some of that. It goes retrograde, and it's like all these things that I want to go out and get, I'm not sure about them now. They're not making me as happy as I want them to make me. And again, notice that one thing I will say that we should really notice is, and I talk about this quite a bit, but it's the nature of the ego to be selfish, to be self-motivated. We want to get the thing first. Again, especially when we get into relationships and all like this, we notice how we're not appreciated, and we tend to feel like all I do for you and all how nice I am and all the compromises I'm willing to make and all like that. But it's so that we can get what we want. And that's not being cynical, it's just being honest. So again, one of the things to really do is when Venus goes retrograde, that gets disrupted. And it's the best opportunity for you to really introspect and be honest about what you want from others and how demanding you can be and what you expect others to do to make you happy and to please you, and how touchy you can be about feeling unappreciated and disrespected. But instead of just feeling that way, notice how you do the same thing. Notice how demanding you are and how much you disrespect others, how much you don't appreciate what others try to do for you as well. It's not, we all do it. That's what we're going to be noticing. How, and again, because it's Venus starting the retrograde cycle in Leo. Leo is quite demanding, right? It's also very affectionate and very passionate and all like that too. My guru Amma, by the way, has her Venus in Leo, right? She's the queen of hugs, right? This is the hugging saint here, and she's going to hug you up and love you up, right? She wants to hug you, and she's got Venus in Leo. So she's, it's not like it's a bad thing, right? But Amma also has, exalted moon and all these other powerful planets where her relationship with Venus is transcendent. It's transcendent beauty. It's not desire and wanting something. By the way, this one picture here, if you could see it, this is a picture of Amma, and that's me right there. Young Sam, you could see, if you could see this. This is me looking over. There's Amma, and that's me going out of San Ramon Ashram. Anyway, so she has her Venus in Leo. And you see she's like the queen of hugs, all the affection and that beautiful, sweet, loving embrace. That's a very high potential where we don't really want anything. We just want to give love and affection in a very powerful, passionate way. But again, This is a being who isn't really driven by her ego. She's transcended her ego. We haven't. And for us, it's quite different, right? So these are the big potentials that we're going to be cycling through. And again, when you register for the web class, again, you can just pick a time that works for you. It'll start, the first date is on the 15th, but again, you can register for dates after that and set up an appointment time. But you'll not only learn about it in greater detail in general, but how it's going to affect you, how that sign of Leo and Cancer affects you. And I've been doing these 30-minute assessments because a lot of people really have been wanting some personal assessments and readings and feedback lately. So I've kept 3 of these 30-minute assessments going. They're very valuable. I'll sit there and talk for like 30 minutes about a certain area of your life. One that is really one of the most valuable is this nakshatra assessment, the hero's journey assessment, where I talk about the nakshatra deities. And again, your hero's journey, the nakshatras are that transcendent part of your nature, which comes from the stars, literally. You're not just the zodiac signs, like you might have your ascendant is, in Libra, but it could be in Chitra Nakshatra, Swati Nakshatra, or Vishaka Nakshatra. They're all different, right? Like I have my moon in Vishaka, and I have my ascendant in Mrigashira, my sun in Ardra, even though they're both in Gemini. So again, this hero's journey connects you with all of the deities of your incarnation. So the moon deity rules your emotional mind. The sun deity rules your deep drive for spiritual liberation. Your ascendant deity rules that individual path and the actions that feel most natural to you. And then your ruling planet deity is that special, like ace in the hole skills and sort of ninja tool set that you possess. Whatever your ruling planet is, you're always using that energy. So again, assessing those 4 nakshatras and the deities that rule them and those stories is profound. So there's that 30-minute, and then there's also just a 2023 30-minute tune-up where I just start with where you are right now, because there's so much going on right now in the sky. We've had these eclipses. Again, we have these retrograde cycles between now and the end of the year. Again, we have Saturn retrograde, we have Rahu, Jupiter. Because of all the intense energy that's happening right now, I just look at your chart, you tell me where you're at and what's happening, and I just do a very powerful current reading right now based on the retrogrades, the dashas, the big shifts, because again, we have a lot of big stuff coming up. And obviously we're in the middle of a lot of things too. So a lot of people got this one. And then also the career, the Swadharma life purpose assessment. People are really looking at, evaluating where they're going in their life. It's not just career, it's called Swadharma. The Swadharma, which is your ability to really step up and express your true nature, your true power. And so in the Swadharma reading, I look at the sun capacity, which is the alignment with your deeper vision and your willingness to sacrifice for that vision. Saturn capacity, which is the willingness to work hard even when things get difficult. We give up too easily. So again, a combination of the sun, which is vision, Saturn, which is determination to reach the goal. Then the 10th house ruler. So whatever your ascendant is, very important, right? If you're Scorpio ascendant, the sun is the 10th house ruler. If you're Capricorn, Venus is the 10th house ruler. So again, how that's oriented in your chart. Again, these things show your specific Swadharma and your capacity to meet those challenges. And then planets in the 10th house. Like if you have a planet in the 10th house, that's also going to help or perhaps even disrupt. So again, this reading also, if any of those things seem valuable, again, there's links in the video, but these things are all very important right now. As you can see, we're just getting out of eclipses. We just went through the eclipse cycle, a couple months ago, but it takes a while to really, it's still working on us, this Aries Libra axis. And again, this is also so crucial with the Venus retrograde, join Mars, because these nodes have just been in this this Aries Libra axis and this Mars Venus energy has been really prominent. And again, we're also it's very much a time of this spiritual growth and development, because Jupiter is not only in Aries, but it's joined Rahu. We have to be very careful right now with embracing, excuse my language, but crappy teachings. This Jupiter Rahu forms what's called Guru Chandala yoga. Guru Chandala, Guru is Jupiter, Chandala is like it's like an outsider, or it's like a disruptive force. And so this Jupiter Rahu in Aries in the sky makes it so we're all very interested in higher teachings and trying to find the spiritual truth, but we're sort of confused and we're pulling and gathering a lot of like weird information. So it's very important right now, and literally even for the rest of this year, pretty much as Rahu continues through Aries and is joined Jupiter, to elevate our desire for wisdom and purity, and elevate our desire for wisdom toward pure forms of wisdom. That's what Jupiter is. That's what Guru is. Everyone's not a guru. Everyone's not a teacher. Everyone who, just because they know a little bit more than you, doesn't mean they're teaching pure teachings. This is one of the big problems on the internet now, and with, again, the times we live in. Somebody seems to have a little bit more information than we have, and we tend to trust everything they say, right? Or we go down the rabbit hole very easily just because someone has gathered a little more information and they speak with a lot of confidence, right? Unearned confidence is a big problem in this world, and the lack of discrimination, because people are, looking for answers and looking for guidance and higher wisdom, and they're looking at it in the wrong places, driven by all kinds of things that aren't authoritative. So now, again, but it's also a great time to really penetrate and find the truth, the true wisdom. So again, this is why those who are spiritual aspirants and who are interested in things like astrology and these pure teachings gravitate toward true gurus who have been around, who have stood the test of time, who have taught, who have written, who have done a lot, and who have a wealth of experience, because your capacity to also get the truth and really see the truth when it's spoken will also be very high right now with Jupiter Rahu, because Rahu is opening up that channel. But you have to be careful that you're drinking from the pure fountain. There's a saying that, if you pour milk into a dirty vessel, you don't want to drink it. So again, Rahu opens up the vessel, but it can be filled with contaminants if we're not careful. So again, this is also why it's very important to always be doing spiritual practices, meditation, cleaning the mind every day. We brush our teeth every day. We wash our body. We don't do anything to purify and clean our mind. Meditation, breath, mantra, pure teachings, not stuff you make up and your practice is this and you do some of that and do some of this and do some of this, do some of that. Again, there's nothing, it's not like it's bad, and I'm not trying to insult and ridicule, but many times it's just kind of the ego playing around with the energy, and it's much easier to do that than to get dedicated to a pure teachings that challenge us to actually be focused and, again, do the pure teachings that lead to solitude, stillness, and peace. And when we do that, then when the container opens and the channel opens, it's not like pouring milk into a dirty vessel. And by the way, this is why, that's kind of the reason why we gravitate toward teachings that are impure. Teachings, that's kind of like pouring the milk in the dirty vessel. The teachings are, even if they're good teachings, are going to be somewhat corrupted by our lack of clarity. So it's very important now, aside from anything else, to really purify and feel that inner peace and clarity. And by the way, this Jupiter or this Venus retrograde and all like that is also hugely important for that kind of sadhana and spiritual practice, because again, this Leo Cancer Sandhi, again, this is also happening, and I'll be talking about these things in more detail on the free webinar. This is happening right at this what's called Gandanta point between Magha and this Lesha and this transition point. this Sandhi point, a transition point, literally between the Ajna chakra and the Ajna chakra and the two petals of this, where the sun and the moon rule the astral body, rule the body of the chakra system. This is the zodiac is not just, this isn't just a flat piece of paper or whatever. And by the way, this is also why Indian astrology and Indian cosmology is absolutely pinned to sidereal placements, because again, Cancer and Leo, these sections of the sky are not just up for grabs. It's this because it's also connected to what's called the Kala Purusha, which is the being in time. It's right in all the Jyotish texts. It was nothing controversial, nothing to wonder about. It's not like, how are we ever going to know what they were doing in the zodiac? We absolutely know. And this section of the sky between Magha and Aslesha, Leo and Cancer, if you've ever seen a picture of the chakras, this is where the Ajna chakra is, where the sun rules the Ida Nadi and the moon rules the Pingala Nadi, which is the solar breath and the lunar breath. And it filters down into all of the chakras this way, where, again, the chakra system plays out from the Ajna chakra up here to the throat chakra and the two signs ruled by Mercury here. This is called Visuddha chakra, the Anahata chakra, which are the two signs ruled by Venus, the Manipura chakra and the two signs ruled by Mars, the Svadhisthana chakra and the two signs ruled by Jupiter, and the Muladhara chakra and the two signs ruled by Saturn. So again, sun and moon are at the top, where we have the gateway into the Sahasrara chakra, or the transcendent state. And then at the bottom, you have the two signs ruled by Saturn, which is where the knot closes. The Brahmagranthi closes at the Sahasrara, at the Kundalini, entrance of the Kundalini and the Muladhara chakra. This zodiac is not just, again, a diagram or something. It's your inner astral landscape. And that's what we're reading when we read the zodiac. When I read your chart, I'm looking at how your energetic body is oriented based on these sacred divine forces of these planets and where they are in the astral body and the chakras. So again, this is very powerful, and this section of the sky between Cancer and Leo is incredibly cosmic and mystical. So again, I invite you to get that free webinar so that you can learn the deeper mystical promise of this Venus retrograde cycle. Again, all of the different offerings, the things I talked about. I know I've talked about quite a few here, but it's because it's big time here, and I want to elevate your connection to beauty. Imagine having this beautiful poster on your wall, hopefully next to your, beloved guru figures. And then again, any of these other assessments, if you think you'd like to hear about your spiritual hero's journey and your nakshatra journey, or if you'd like me to talk about specific things that are happening in your life right now, or you want to get an overall assessment about your svadharma, your career, your life purpose, then you can also take me up on that as well. But I appreciate you being here, and share this with others if you think it will help them as well. For a limited time, I'm offering 10 hours of masterclasses, Yoga and Vedic Astrology, Quantum Vedic Astrology, and Spiritual Astrology Masterclass. These are 3 great courses that will really help you a lot. Now, in case you don't know who I am, I taught the Astroved certification course, Dattatreya Shiva Baba, in 2010. Ravi Shankar published my book in 2018. I've been around for decades. I've been teaching these great classes, and if you go to VedicAstrologyEssentials.com, you can get this 90% off discount of these 3 great classes, more than 10 hours, guaranteed value. You can check this out. These 3 classes will give you all the necessary tools to begin to learn Vedic astrology. Please find me on YouTube at Sam Jeppy, Vedic Astrology Teacher. On there since 2007, thousands of hours of classes. Also on Facebook at Astrology Teacher, tons of articles updated regularly, and I'm on Instagram at Vedic Astrology 108, ongoing updates and interaction.